Dan heard
He only heard the end.
the best.
Does
He heard the whole thing.
wait? My question is, could it be a porno?
Oh, easily.
Could this story be a porno?
Could be a combined
100%.
porno.
Could be a 3-part miniseries on like Showtime.
Okay, let's.
All right, so where to start? Before I moved out to Seattle, we went to Dominican Republic on vacation, and I went with my friend Scott. It was all inclusive, and they ended up putting us
Wait,
in a
you went
villa.
with her? So you went with her?
No, I went with my friend Scott. Are you listening?
So
Holy
her
shit.
went. Okay.
I said the same thing.
All right. I went with her. No, I went with my friend Scott, and we went there, and it was all inclusive, so everything was free: food, restaurants, alcohol, everything.
Gotcha.
Couple days in, we were in the pool, and I see this girl, and I like looked at her, but she like looked at me funny. It was really weird. I saw her. They were teaching dance lessons outside the bar that night, so I was like watching her dance, and she was so fucking sexy. It's like out of control how hot she. So I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, yeah, she's hot, whatever. I don't have a chance. So next day we're in the pool again, and we're playing volleyball, and I'm playing against her. It's like a team thing. You just kind of like walk into the pool and you pick a side, and it's like random people versus random people.
Probably
So,
the best activity.
Oh yeah, just pugging some pool volley. So she's on the other team, and I like look at her, and I keep seeing that she'll look at me for like a second and then look away, and she'll never hit me the ball. And in my head, I'm like, wow, this girl's a fucking bitch. Like, what the fuck is wrong? So we're playing for like an hour or two, and I get out of the pool, and I go and I lay down on one of the chairs, and I just like passed out. It was fucking hot, and it was like middle of the afternoon. Just took like a nap, and woke up, and my friend Scott was talking to them in front of us. They ended up sitting down in front of us. So I got up after a little bit, and I went over, and I like introduced myself, and the first words out of their mouths were, "Are you Albanian?" So I picked up Albanian working at my last job, so I just like fed into it. I just started talking Albanian to them for like a couple minutes, having a conversation, and they just ate it up. And I was like, nah, I don't really know Albanian. I just picked it up at my job. I'm not Albanian. I don't know what I am. So they were like arguing with me, and next thing you know, we're in this conversation for 3 hours. So it's getting to be like dinner time, and we're all walking back to our part of the hotel, and they're walking with us because they ended up having a hotel room in the same area that we did. Like, it's a giant resort. So while we're walking back, we asked them if they wanted to go out to dinner tonight. So they were like, yeah. So they were like, all right, let's meet back at 8 o'clock here at the pool, and we'll walk over. So we meet up with them, 8 o'clock, we go over for dinner, and we go to the seafood place. My stomach started hurting, obviously, fucking gallbladder attacks again. So it was like killing me. Like, I was sweating, and I was like hunched over a little bit because it was just like so much pain. You could see it in my face. So we're eating dinner, we're talking, and me and this girl Tina, we're getting along so well. Like, we have so much to talk about. We have so much in common. She's great. She's like amazing. So her sister, she's there with her sister. So her sister's like, oh, you don't look so good. You want to go back to your room and like lay down? And I was like, no, I'm good. So like Scott says the same thing. He's like, dude, you look like shit. Like, go back and lay down, just relax. And I was like, no. And I look over at Tina, and she doesn't say anything. And I'm like, wow, we've been talking for hours, like just me and her, getting along great, and she doesn't say anything. Like, what a fucking bitch. So I'm like, there's absolutely no chance if I go back to my room. So I have to man up. So I was like, fuck it, let's go. So we end up going to some casino off the resort, and we go to like this disco, we go to a bar, and we're just having fun. So we get back to the resort, and we go to the pool outside of our hotel, like our section, and her sister immediately goes into her room. She's like, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. So me, her, and Scott were all just laying there next to the pool talking, and Scott's like fading in and out. So he's like, I'm gonna go. So I was like, all right, awesome. So it's just me and her sitting there, and we're talking, and I was just like, it's hot, it's so fucking hot. So I just start taking off my clothes, and I'm down to nothing but my briefs, boxer briefs, and I just jump into the pool. And I'm like, yo, water's amazing, you need to come in. So she's just sitting there like staring at me laughing, and I was like, what, just come in. So she does the same thing. She takes off a bunch of her clothes, jumps in. So we're swimming back and forth, just like making fun of each other, you know, that like flirting stuff. And she's swimming backwards, not looking, and I like creep up behind her. She doesn't hear me. She bumps into me, and she turns around, and then we just like grab each other and start making out. And we're in the pool for like an hour, hour and a half, just like humping each other, like just going at it in this pool. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. So they close the pools at something like 10 o'clock or something like that at night, so people can go to sleep, because you know, it makes a lot of noise. And this guy walks by, maintenance guy, and he starts talking in Spanish, and I'm fluent in Spanish, but she didn't know. So I start talking to this guy in Spanish, and he's like, you know, you're not allowed in here, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, but it's the next day, so I figured we could already get a head start, blah, blah, blah. So he starts like laughing, and she's just staring at me like amazed that I know Spanish too. And he's like, all right, I'll give you a couple minutes, but you got to get out. And I was like, all right, whatever. So take a couple minutes, we get out, and we just like looking at each other, and we're like, what do you want to do? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, you want to come back to my room? Scott's in the living room, and I have the room itself, so you can come back and get changed out of those wet clothes. I have, you know, extra boxers and shirts. She's like, all right. Go back to my room, and Scott's like passed out in the living room, walk right into my room. I give her a pair of boxers and a t-shirt. She just like takes off all her clothes, changes in front of me, and we just get into bed, and we're just talking, and one thing leads to another, and we have sex like a ton of times. And I ended up, I never used a condom once with this girl, by the way. So
It was a sex marathon.
yeah, I ended up going, I busted inside of her like 3 of the 4 times that we had sex just that night.
Oh, that's
So next morning we didn't even wake up because we didn't go.
What did you find out? What did you find out about her?
What's on about?
You
Super
left out an
Soaker.
important yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm sorry. So while we're doing it, dude, she is like, when she fucking orgasms, it is an
They're at Niagara
explosion.
Falls.
It is literally Niagara Falls. Like, there was a spot, and I could see it coming, like, while I'm laying on the bed, I can see a giant puddle stained into the sheets underneath me, like, coming outside of my body. So, figure, like, 2 feet wide, like, maybe not 2 feet, but, like, that's what I thought. But she did it, like, 4 times, and it didn't smell, and it evaporated, and most of the time, like, piss won't evaporate like that. It'll actually leave a stain. It didn't stain. It was just wet, and it went away, and that was it. So at first,
she bust in your face?
no. She was super wet though. Her vagina tasted so delicious, but so
Was it like at the end of a porno, but you were the girl and she was busting in your face?
yes, pretty much. So listen, hold on. I'm not even like a quarter done with. So
Okay, keep going.
4 home runs
it's like
in 1
7. It's like
Amazing.
7 a.m. and me and Scott had to be on a snorkeling excursion at 8:15 or something. So I just didn't sleep. So she went back to her room, and I was like, all right, I'll come get you when we get back. And she was like, you better. So me and Scott, we go, and Scott, being the asshole that he is, he tried to be a tough guy and go like 35 feet down. And when you're snorkeling, you just have like the snorkel piece, like goggles with a fucking snorkel. So all the pressure went to his head. He got out. He had like a bloody nose for like 2.5 hours, and he ended up going to the hospital when we got back to New York. For, the pressure, he had like ear infections and shit and bleeds. So, but he was sick. We got back and we got off the bus, and he goes back to the room. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go look for Tina. So I start walking around. I go to the bar, the beach, and I don't see her. So I'm walking back, and I run into both of them, Tina and her sister. She's like, oh, we just ran into Scott. He said he wasn't feeling well. He was going to go back. He said you were over here. And I was like, yeah, I was actually looking for you. And she was like, you know, oh, sweet, blah, blah, blah. So I went back, changed, and I got her from her room, and I was like, let's go out to dinner. And her sister's like, no, I don't want to be a third wheel. And I was like, fuck you. Like, who cares? You're on vacation. Come out and have dinner. So we ended up all going out to dinner, us three. And it was a good time. And we finished, and her sister left. So me and Tina, we ended up just like walking around. We went down to the beach, and we went into the ocean. And we had sex once in the ocean. It was pretty fun. And then we went back up to the pool and the bar, and we got a bunch of drinks. And we went back to my room, and we just had sex a ton of times again in my room. Still no condom. Busted in her at least 2 more times that night. And just kept. So the next day was the day I was leaving. It was Saturday, and she was there until Tuesday because her trip was different series. So she was like, here, take my number, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right. So I get to the airport, I'm texting her, get home, texting her. We ended up texting. We had 1,400 text messages between when I left and when she got home Tuesday, which was 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. So I get home and I text my friend, because she's Albanian. She lives 5 minutes from me, where I used to live. And I was like, oh, I met this girl. It's so funny. She's Albanian. She's from the Bronx. Like, 27 years I've lived in New York. She lives 45 minutes away, and like we both immediately fell in love with each other. She's like, oh my god, that's awesome. What's her name? And I was like, Toom. And she was like, no fucking way. And I was like, what? She sends me a picture of both of them. They end up being cousins. So I'm just like dying laughing. Yeah. So I text Tina, and she's like laughing about. She's just like laughing about it. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I have 3 days left when you get back. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because we're leaving Friday. Or we're leaving Saturday for Seattle. Like, that's when we're moving. We're driving out. So I figure Wednesday and Thursday, if I see everybody Monday and Tuesday, I can spend both days with you. And she's like, oh, that sounds amazing, blah, blah, blah. So I planned a bunch of stuff. And when we were in Dominican, she kept talking about this clock that she saw online, like this in shape of a moon. So when I got home, I bought it just as a little present. It wasn't that much money. It was like $25. And I kept it in my car when I went down to see her. I took her to the bodies exhibit. We went out for lunch. We walked around the city. Then we went to dinner. It was awesome. We had like so much fun. We kept stopping in like the exhibit, and we would let groups pass, and we would just start like going at it against the walls and stuff. It was so funny. But we just like had this awesome connection. So we get back to the car, and we're like, what do you want to do? And it was raining on the way down from dinner to the car. And she was like, oh, I'm so wet. And I just like grabbed her, and I was like, no, you're not wet yet. So we just start fucking in my car, and we were just like going at it again. Like, it was crazy. So we're like, what do you want to do? So I said, let's just go back to my house. She's like, okay. So we drive all the way back up from from the city to my house, and we had sex a ton of more times, and we got like no sleep. We woke up the next day, and she was like, I don't want to leave you. It's Thursday. I know I only have one more day, so let's spend the whole day together. I was like, all right. We laid in bed watching TV and movies and kept having sex like here and there. We went out for lunch, and then we came back. We walked like around the lake or whatever, and I dropped her off at her place on Thursday. So we went down. It was like Thursday night. Well, it was like Friday morning at that point, and I gave her her clock. I told her I had a present, and it was a surprise. She had no idea, and she just like exploded when she saw it, because she thought she was getting it for Christmas from her sister. But she like loved it, and she was just like all over me, and it took her like 20 minutes to say goodbye to me in the car. Like, she didn't want to leave. So I left, ended up taking the trip out to Seattle, blah blah blah. The whole time she was like calling me and texting me, like keeping me occupied, this and that. So the whole time we're talking about how she doesn't want to be in New York anymore. It's been years, but she's never had an excuse. So she keeps telling me that she wants to move out to Seattle with me. She said next May she wants to get everything settled there, save enough money, and make the move. She's going to come out and visit me once a month starting in October. We have all this stuff planned, like going to Vancouver, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like awesome. We talked all the time. It was great. And a couple days ago, last week, probably like a week ago, I started noticing she was like being weird. Not weird, but her texts were a lot shorter than they used to be. her on the phone, like she wasn't saying as much, and I noticed it, and I kept asking her, like, is everything okay? She's like, yeah, thanks, I'm good, blah, blah, blah. So I ordered her flowers to get sent to her job for Friday, which was 3 days ago or whatever.
Where she
And
works?
she works in the city at a company called Completely Bare. It's a corporate office. So I ordered these flowers because she like loves flowers. So Thursday, coming back from wherever I was with my friend Brian, we're coming back from the ambulance corps because he's getting a job there. She texts me. She's like, Matt, we need to talk. It's not good. So like the first thing that came to my mind was she's pregnant. Then I thought to myself, wait a minute. She obviously likes me, so being pregnant isn't bad. So maybe she has an STD because she was sick for a while. She had an ear infection for like a week. So that was like one of the reasons I bought her flowers too. I thought she was getting better. So she calls me when I get home, and she's like, "Oh, I got a letter in the mail. It's from my ex-boyfriend. It was like a couple pages long. It's a heart-to-heart, and it stirred up a bunch of stuff. And I realized that I still kind of have feelings for him, so I don't want to like string you along." And I was like, "Wow, you're really gonna end it like this, huh?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm a terrible person. Like, you're so amazing. You're the last person I wanted to do this to." She kept saying like how amazing I was, and I was like, "Yo, obviously not good enough, huh?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it. Do whatever you gotta do. Good luck in life. I don't want everyone to talk to you again, because fuck you." That was it. Click. So Friday comes, next day, and she was like, "Oh, now I know what you meant by you couldn't cancel Friday. I didn't know you got me flowers. They're amazing. They mean so much." I just like deleted the text, and that was it.
And you haven't heard from
No, I don't plan on hearing from her. I'm pretty sure she understands that I don't ever want to talk to her again.
her. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's an awesome
Yeah.
story.
I still gotta wait like another month just to be out of the clear in case she's pregnant or not, but I'm pretty sure she's not at this. And that's that.